Jennifer Freeman represents several Epstein survivors, including Maria Farmer, who was the first to report Epstein to the FBI way back in 1996. What do you think of my theory, by the way, that them going after Andrew on the money may actually be something for us to think about here in our analysis?
Well, thank you for having me, Chris. I think you're spot on. Follow the money has always been important in any kind of investigation, but particularly here. I also think you're spot on when you talk about the blind eye, because the blindest eye and the original blind eye was, in fact, the U.S. government, because in 1996, Maria Farmer reported Epstein and Maxwell to the U.S. government. She reported about child pornography as well as sex abuse. And what did the government do? Absolutely nothing. There's your original blind eye, which has really left 30 years of trauma and over 1,000 victims and survivors.
What is your best sense of reconstruction of why nothing happened then?
I really don't know. And I was hoping that the documents would reveal some of that. I do have some speculation, suspicions, as you do, that Towers Financial played a role in here. Did Epstein play a significant role in getting those convictions? And thus, again, he was just left on the side and don't worry about him because he's helping us? I really don't know. But where are those documents? They should be released also, and I haven't seen hide nor hair of them.
There is pressure that, look, DOJ is not going to do it. The survivors, representatives like you say, hey, look, they came up with a list of people who did things or who knew what was being done to them, and they gave it to DOJ. DOJ has not produced that list and hasn't even spoken about it. I know why there is something inherently unfair about asking the survivors to take on the burden of going against the people that the government of the United States doesn't want to go after. I get it. I'm sympathetic to it. But have you considered that that may be the only next chapter here, that the names have to come out and then you have to deal with them because they're out?
Well, that may well be, but first, the Epstein Files Transparency Act should be complied with. And the Epstein Files Transparency Act says in black and white, you can only redact issues regarding 3 different things, and none of them had anything to do with potential perpetrators or powerful men, captains of industry, policymakers, senior academics, whoever it is in our country. And yet those were redacted. So let's see the government comply with the law first and see those, as we already saw one of those names pop out as a potential co-conspirator, Les Wexner. And what's so interesting about him, Chris, is that there was no effort by the FBI to talk to him previously.
Never, until now.
Maria
Crazy.
Farmer, until now. I mean, Maria Farmer alleged that she was there, and what happened to her, she was there sexually assaulted, and also photographs, important photographs, private photographs stolen from her on on Wexner's estate, on his property. And then what happened next is they prevented her from leaving. They kept her captive. Who was that was doing that? That was Wexner's staff, Wexner's associates, in his own backyard, his location, his infrastructure, and yet he knows nothing and the government asks nothing. I just don't get it.
Look, him saying I don't know anything, we both get. Strategically. Why? And I don't mean to impugn the man at all. I'm just saying anybody who's sitting next to you is going to give that answer in that context of being deposed by the government. But that they never asked him, that all those women sat in the back of the hearing the other day, and when the representative said, hey, who's been contacted by the FBI for doing an interview after you offered yourself up? Not one hand. It's just so obvious that it's got to be about something else than just the obvious. And that's why I think we're going to have to stay very open-minded, and we cannot let it go. Not because of the Me Too aspect of it, which is more than enough. It's something deeper and darker that's being protected here. Jennifer Freeman, you always have a platform. Thank you very much for taking this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Chris. Good to be with you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.